it's the end of the year, which is a great time to reflect on all the things that we've accomplished for 2022. So we thought we'd give you the top 10 list for the things that happened in El Dorado during 2022 as a reflection on all the great accomplishments that your city has done for the community. 2022 was a great year to invest in city infrastructure, and examples of that included the replacement of filter consoles at the water treatment plant. These consoles help us treat and filter the water to the high standards that our water customers demand. We also started phase 1 of the replacement of the ultraviolet system at the water reclamation facility. This is one of the final treatment processes needed to ensure that the water that we release back out into the watershed meets and exceeds any regulatory requirements from KDHE. We also purchased a sewer camera, which will allow the utilities department to camera various sewer lines to figure out where breakages are, where settlement has occurred, and where tree roots need to be treated to protect our system, and also to identify areas where the system needs to be replaced or rehabilitated. Another one of these projects was the painting of the water tower in the industrial park. This project included painting the interior and exterior of the water tower, which will extend its useful life. You'll be able to see the new paint job as you drive down the turnpike and look for that great new El Dorado logo on that water tower. And finally, one of the things that we replaced as part of this infrastructure investment was the fire department's hazardous materials vehicle, which we received in part through a partnership with the Butler County government. They paid for a portion of the project because they receive some of the services associated with hazardous material response. So thank you, Butler County, and we now have that vehicle that is ready to serve the hazardous material needs of the entire county. The City of El Dorado was the recipient of a FAA, Federal Aviation Administration grant for its airport. We received $690,000 to improve the parking lot and driveway into the El Dorado Captain Jack Memorial Airport. This improvement is federally funded, but the city does have to come up with a $69,000 match, which will come from the airport fund. These investments at the airport are necessary to ensure pilots have the adequate infrastructure they need to ensure a safe and modern airport to use entering and exiting El Dorado airspace. 2022 was also the year of the first annual Gold Fest. We had over 3,000 people come to El Dorado to the festivities in downtown El Dorado during the entire celebration. And that included 3,000 people at the block party and 1,500 people from outside of El Dorado. We had a number of sponsors, and we're very thankful and appreciative for their investment in the event. And we estimate that the economic impact of the Gold Fest is about $265,000. So once again, we thank our sponsors. We thank the community for being supportive of this event and coming down and having a great time. And we will look forward to next year's 2023 Gold Fest. Stay tuned for more details about that coming up in 2023. The city introduced its nutrient trading program under partnership with the Kansas Department of Health and Environment this year. While the project is a pilot program, we hope that it will set the example for many communities throughout the state, but more importantly for the city of El Dorado, it will do a couple of things. Number one, it will help us reduce sedimentation into El Dorado Lake and thus expand its useful life. A very important consideration since our only source of water comes from the El Dorado Lake. And the second thing that it will do is it will allow the city to defer very expensive capital improvements that will probably be required as a result of regulatory requirements coming down from both the federal and state governments, because we will get credits for our investments in the watershed, which will then allow us to defer expensive capital improvements. So all in all, it's a win-win, not only for El Dorado citizens, but also for El Dorado utility customers, as we can keep our rates lower for the foreseeable future. The city of El Dorado not only grew from a residential standpoint, but we also grew from a land standpoint. The city brought in 95 acres by annexation at the very beginning of 2022, when it annexed the old coastal refinery property. The reason the city did this was to prepare the site for industrial development. By annexing the property now, if a property or project rather selects El Dorado as a site, we now have the ability to streamline the development process and make that process much shorter. So by bringing in 95 acres, not only did we make the city grow by boundaries, but we also made it more likely to secure some industrial development. Another important capital improvement project that happened in 2022 was the street improvement projects in the township village. This $1.8 million project included street improvement projects on 5th, 2nd, Hunton, and Simpson. These street improvement projects are not only important for that neighborhood, but it's also important because the city can say that we finished our promise when we first annexed the township village. Originally, the city promised that we would provide new streets and city infrastructure as part of the annexation deal, and unfortunately it's taken this long to get it done, but we're glad to say that we have completed the task. So thank you for those neighbors who were involved in that, or not involved, but had to deal with the construction during the construction phase. I know it is inconvenient, but we did get the project done, and we hope you appreciate the great new pavement. This year we brought in $3,183,325 in sales tax. That's the biggest amount we've ever received from sales tax, and it largely comes from citizens shopping local in El Dorado stores and at our grocery stores and all of our retail establishments. So first, we'd like to thank everybody for choosing to shop local. We know you have a choice of where you shop, and shopping local is greatly appreciated because now we can take dollars and invest back into our community. Secondly, this is important because the dollars go to various investments in our community. The first thing that we use for sales tax is we fund our property tax reduction program, which amounts to about 17 mills every year. Without those sales tax dollars going in, the city's mill levy would have to be significantly higher, and we use those dollars to offset that increase. Secondarily, we use the dollars to fund our annual street maintenance program. $600,000 of those monies will go to our major and minor street rehabilitation projects that our citizens drive on every single day. $100,000 will go to the city's economic development program, and the remaining dollars goes to the excess sales tax program, which will be used in the next few years to fund improvements to the city's baseball and softball fields. Once again, we're very thankful for everyone shopping local, and we hope next year we can beat the $3.1 million mark and hopefully hit $3.2 million. 2022 was a great year for housing developments in El Dorado, as we had 26 new residential building permits taken, and we had 31 new lots come on for folks to build new structures. These happened in the Deer Run Edition out on the west end of town. They also happened in the Myers East Edition up by Prairie Trails Golf Course. And then we also had some development going on in the Adelsberger Smith Edition located on the south side of town. In addition to these projects, we also had a multi-million-dollar rehabilitation project going on in the Gordy Square and the Heritage House Apartments in downtown. This multi-million-dollar project was funded through via an IRB issued by the city. So this year, the city received a number of grants, and we'd like to highlight two of those. We received a $3 million base grant from the Kansas Department of Commerce, as well as a $1 million grant from the Kansas Department of Transportation in their cost share program. Both of these grants total $4 million of state and federal grants that will be invested in the community. And on top of that, we will also be investing a local match, so the $4 million will actually be much higher than that. So these programs, these dollars rather, will be going to help us expand water and sewer lines, as well as repaving streets, and will also allow us to install a pretty significant drainage improvement in downtown El Dorado. On December 27th, 2022, President Biden signed the National Defense Authorization Act of 2022. Why is this in our top 10? Well, because the legislation included a provision specific to our El Dorado Lake debt obligations on future storage space. This is important because, in essence, The provision will change the way our lake debt interest is calculated from compound interest to simple interest. And by that change, the city anticipates the obligation going from $53 million today down to $39 million, with the cap going from $410 million in the future to $76 million. Now, of course, these are big numbers, but the fact that this legislation went through and will actually change these numbers to much lower levels will allow the city's lake debt obligations to be much more affordable for the city of El Dorado and its water customers. Okay, so as you can see, 2022 was a great year. We got a lot done, and we have a lot to look forward to because many of these things that I mentioned are not yet completed. Some of them haven't even started yet. And so as we move forward into 2023, we will share updates so that you can stay informed as to how we're making progress on a number of these projects. We're also looking forward to 2023 just because, as we had with 2022, we anticipate there's going to be a lot of things that are going to happen in 2023 for the betterment of El Dorado. So stay tuned and look forward to those things that are going to happen in 2023. Once again, we'd like to thank all of our city employees who work tirelessly every day to provide public services to our community. We thank you and appreciate all the hard work that you do. We also thank our citizens for being supportive of the city and its many projects. We know many of these projects create inconveniences for you as you go about your daily lives, but many of these projects are very short-lived and we get them done as quickly as we can. Here we go, closing 2022, looking forward to a great 2023, and the city of El Dorado wishes everyone a very happy and safe new year.